Sam, and I'm speaking today about the Nakshatra of Aslesha, the entwining one, the entwiner, and its relationship to the Rashi in which it falls, which is Cancer. And of course, the Nakshatras and the Rashis are related, not just related, but they occupy the same space, and truly the Nakshatra is a specific section of each Rashi. And so the Nakshatra of Aslesha shows that section of Cancer that is the entwining, embracing, wrapping around of our mind and our energy with those things that we love, of the beloved. Because Cancer is, of course, the sign that's ruled by the moon. It has to do with selfless love and nurturing, not the romantic love, but the unconditional love. And in fact, the sign of Cancer, one of the issues Cancer often has is this quality of, in fact, romantic love. Romantic love can be hard for Cancer because of that give and take, and Cancer always feels like, I'm always the one giving, I would give anything, I'm so, open and sensitive. Yes, but then when you don't get it returned, you're just as upset and angry and nasty as anybody else, because that conditional love is actually related to Venus and Libra energy, for example. And so Cancer often has this painful relationship with conditional kinds of love, because the instinct is to love selflessly because of its sattvic nature, and because of the nature of the moon to want to care for and nurture. And of course Cancer does want to nurture and care for their partners until their partners don't want to care for and nurture them as much. At least that's in Cancer's mind. But notice the difference between that kind of love and the love we have for a child. We nurture and love the child selflessly, and the child can love us back or not, and we don't care. Or the selfless love we have for our pets. We feed them, we take care of them, they don't have to love us back, even though they do. So Cancer is that sign where we give love just because it's our nature to love. And Aslesha is the nakshatra of that embrace, that entwining and that entanglement. Think of a mother getting entangled in the love for her child. Right? The mother is totally tangled up in the love for her child. But what if you're totally tangled up in the love of your romantic partner? Ooh, just saying that is like, oh no, that's horrible, right? Because then there's no equipoise, or there's no flexibility, or there's no accommodation for the other person to be themselves. And this is also a problem when a mother or a parent becomes sort of like mommy dearest. When the parent tangles up their own happiness in the child, then they start to pressure the child, and this emotional pressuring can happen. Now, I'm not saying that's what happens in Aslesha necessarily. I'm just using this as an example. That eventually what happens as children grow, their relationship evolves from that Cancer tangled up relationship to more of a Libra relationship. For example, adult parents get along with their children not because of the Cancer relationship, but because of the Libra and the Venus relationship. If the parent wants to keep the child a child their whole life, then they're not going to have a good relationship with them as an adult. But to backtrack and talk about this quality of Aslesha as it relates to Cancer, it's that entangling and that entwining in the heart that happens in this zodiac sign. And again, we use the example of the mother and the child because it's an archetype of that energy, and it's that pure love, that selfless love, that sattvic love. And of course, the relationship love is like the rajasic love. You get this, I get that. You get this, I get that. Sattvic is, you can have it all. I don't need anything for myself in order to be fulfilled and complete. This is why sattvic love is like devotion. We're devoted to our children. We're devoted to our pets. We take care of them simply because we love them, and we're tangled up in their lives. We are entangled and entwined in that. And so that embrace of Aslesha is related to the serpent, the Sarpa energy. The deity is the Sarpa, the serpent energy. And this is one of the more difficult nakshatras, just because we live in a world of desire, and we have desires. And because Aslesha is so intense about getting entangled in things emotionally, particularly if the moon is there, or really any planet there can have this quality of getting entangled and ensnared in something. And it's usually something about the ego. We get tangled up in our ego. We get tangled up in our desire. We get tangled up in something that's not pure and sattvic. So this is the thing to understand about Aslesha. When we're tangled up and entwined in something pure and sattvic that's directly connected to the heart, then we go straight to the source of the heart, which is that, of course, that sign of Cancer. Of course, you have to realize if you were to use a different zodiac, it goes without saying, but then Aslesha winds up in Leo. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever at that point. So, of course, this is why the wise Indians understood that we use the Rashi and zodiac, the 30-degree Rashi portions with the 27-degree nakshatras. They occupy the same space, of course. So Aslesha has that power and that capacity to go right to the source. If they can focus on something devotional, something they're devoted to, something where they can express their selfless love, then all of that intense entwining and entangling of Aslesha then entangles them in the true source of love itself, that selfless love in the heart. When they get entangled and entwined in some desire of the ego, some romance, and again, this is the difficulty because Cancer is such a romantic sign. This is why I say they can get really tangled up in all of the sort of romance projection, the soulmate fantasy, and they can get entangled and ensnared in that, and then trying to accommodate and be and bring about mutual respect, which is what relationships, what adult relationships are governed by, mutual respect, not entanglement like a child, then Aslesha can be very painful. And so when I see this nakshatra, I know I'm dealing with this. And I've been saying these things for 15 years. So again, this is the deeply integrated Vedic astrology zodiac of the nakshatra and Rashi. And you see this Aslesha Nakshatra very much about that serpent taking us deeper and entangling around the pure love of existence and taking us deeper. But again, one of the things that has to happen in Aslesha Nakshatra is they need to drink the poison of the desires, drink the poison of the mind. Very Shiva related. Anytime you see serpents, there's a Shiva quality to it. And Shiva is the one that gives us the power to drink the poison and go deeper into our pure heart, the pure love in our heart, not the desire and the projection, the fantasy projections, and the romance that has us clinging to life and trying to entwine and entangle around something that we're going to lose. Just think of like the terror of the mother losing her child. Like they can't even imagine it. That terrifying feeling. And this is the kind of terror that can grip Aslesha at times. Sometimes we see people who have a tendency to suicide will have planets in this nakshatra. Because we get so wrapped up and we get so entangled and entwined in that emotional stress. Or we get, if we get entangled and entwined in something about our desires and then we lose it, again, often something romantic about the world like another partner, then it can be so difficult that it just sinks us and sucks us down. So this is why Aslesha is one of the more difficult nakshatras in that regard. So it's that embrace and that entwining and that entanglement of love in the object of our desire and in the object that we want to possess. But we have to be careful of what we possess and what we're entangled in. When we get entangled in something that's pure, per the guna of Cancer, the pure love of a mother's heart, she can get entangled in that as much as she wants. That'll be fine. The pure love we have for our pets. The pure love, of course, that we have for God. This is why Aslesha and Cancer people in general are very devotional. Naturally very devoted. Because devotion is the higher octave of worldly love. Emotions are just a roller coaster, but devotion is to something pure and higher. So Aslesha needs to find something to be devoted to. Because even, again, the child is going to grow up. They're devoted to the child, but if they can't unentangle themselves from the child, at some point then they're not going to have a good relationship with the child as an adult, for example. So we need to get right with our relationship with our own heart, and usually that first comes getting clear with our relationship to God or higher purpose, which is the nature of Cancer. So you can see how Nakshatra is purely related to the Rashi that it's in.